Hi guys, we are talking wedding expectations today, so come and have a chat. Hi guys, my name's Donna and this is Bride toBe TV, the place to be when you are planning your wedding. So hit that subscribe button if you want to make sure you don't miss any videos. I'd love to see you here again, and if you like the video, hit the thumbs up for me. It really helps me to know that I'm on the right track with the content I'm giving you. So this week I just wanted to talk about setting the expectations for your marriage. So with all the other videos leading up to now, we've been talking about getting your finances ready for the wedding, looking at researching your vendors, etc. But one of the big things that people don't necessarily think about when they're planning their wedding is what's going to happen afterwards. So people turn around and say, oh, nothing changes, it's just a piece of paper, blah, blah, blah. But it's not. And if you truly believe in marriage and everything that marriage is, you will believe that it's not the same after you get married. There is built-in expectations, if you like, of how somebody is going to be once they're married, how chores are going to be divvied up, who's going to look after the money, all of these kind of preconceived ideas of what a marriage is going to be. And you really need to sit down with your partner and talk to them about what these expectations are. If you are lucky enough to have parents that are still together, you're going to have seen the way their marriage has progressed over the years, and you're going to expect that kind of marriage just because it's what you're used to. And I'm not to say that that's a bad thing, but if your partner hasn't grown up in a similar environment, they aren't going to have those expectations. So as with everything, you really need to sit down and talk to them, have a conversation and say, what are we looking to achieve with this marriage? Look at things like your goals, which I've spoken about before. Where do you want to go with your career? Where do they want to go with theirs? How are they going to work together to support the other? If one of you needs to go back to school to re-educate themselves in a certain area for their chosen career, is the other going to be able to support? Will you manage financially? Are you going to have to put a savings goal in place and plan that for a few years' time so that that can happen without too much difficulty, without putting too much pressure on your finances? Finances is a big one because it really does put pressure on people. When there isn't enough money for you to do what you would like to do, there is a pressure, there can be resentment, and this is why it's no good, getting married and then in a year's time you or your partner saying, right, I'm quitting my job because I want to go and learn to be an X and I'm going back to school for 2 years, and just doing it without conversation. The other person is going to resent that because suddenly all of their income has to cover all the bills that previously you were both covering. So these need to be things that you put down in your future plan. And it's not necessary that this is exactly how it's going to be, and nothing's ever going to stray from this list. But it's always good to have something to work from, and you always need to have points where you come together and sit down and go, okay, this is what we were planning and this is what we're going to do now, etc. So one of the things that you might want to also look at putting an earmark in for is children. Are you planning to have children? How many are you planning to have? When do you want to have them by? This is often guided more by the female in the relationship because they're the ones that are going to be carrying the babies. There's the biological clock, which obviously we tend to ignore quite a bit now, but the truth is that as a woman ages, so do her eggs, and those eggs can come with difficulties when they get past a certain age. So even if you're lucky enough to get pregnant at an older age, the pregnancy or the child might not be as healthy as one born to somebody in their early 30s, late 20s. So there are considerations that you must take into account, and it's good to have those conversations up front and have some plan in place. Now, you can always move your goals, you can always move your dates as things come up, and you can plan to within an inch of your life and something's going to come out of the woodwork and spoil that plan. We all have that happen all the time, but it's good to know that you're both working towards the same goals and have the same ideas of when these things are going to happen for you. And those are kind of your big things. But the other important thing is to talk about the little things. And these are things like committing to a date night at least once a month. Date night where it's just going to be the two of you. No technology. Not even like going to the cinema is a nice thing to do together, but I wouldn't class that as your date night because you can't have a conversation. It's got to be somewhere where you can just sit down, chill, and have a conversation face to face with each other and just check in with each other and make sure you're okay. Now, some people do this once a week, and if you have the ability to do it, then I would say definitely go for once a week. If you haven't, then write it in your diary, even from now, whatever date it is, the third Friday in the month or whatever, the third Thursday in the month, this will be your date night and you guys will always go out on that date. Regardless, it's in the diary like Monday to Sunday. You can't move it, and stick to that. And then there's all the household chores, and for some reason a lot of women seem to think that when men get married, they're going to magically pick up their socks and magically pick up the wet towel. It doesn't happen, ladies. It won't happen. Whoever your partner is now, they will be that same person the day after you get married. So if you think that getting married is going to change them in some way, you're wrong. And it's because fundamentally, even if they do try to pick up the socks and try to be a bit of a better living partner after you're married, everybody goes back to their same habits. So these have got to be things that you've got to accept in each other, and things that you've not got to let get under your skin. It's my child, bear with. Kids, don't have them. Just don't do it to yourselves. If you have watched, or if you haven't watched, My Celebrity Babysitter, go and have a look at it. Anyway, yeah, it's the little things that are going to grate and build up, and you get fed up with those things, and it's the thing that causes tension in a lot of relationships. So make sure that you're sitting down and talking to each other about who's taking responsibility for what in the house, and stick to those things. Obviously, we're not in traditional roles anymore, so it's not that the woman needs to do all the cooking and the cleaning and the housework and the guy goes off to work and doesn't have to lift a finger when he gets home. That's not how it happens. And if he thinks that that's going to be the way marriage is and that you're suddenly going to become this housewife, you need to let him know beforehand. That's not going to happen. So dish out the responsibilities. For instance, my other half, he does food shopping. I cannot stand going in supermarkets. I just hate it. I just can't stand those places. So he has the food card that we use, and he goes and gets the food shopping. That's his responsibility. I do the clothes. Now, sometimes I will nip to Tesco's and pick some stuff up for dinner or for something, and sometimes he will put a load of washing in. But these are usually things that we're asking each other to do, not that we're expecting each other to do. And then he does the dishwasher. I do the hoovering. I do the polishing. I clean the bathroom. He cleans the kitchen. All of these things are things that we have fallen into a routine of doing, But when you get married, you need to understand that it's going to continue in that way unless you sit down and talk about it and say, look, this is really bugging me. Is it something that you can stop doing? Or, you know, it really bothers me that you leave wet towels on the bathroom floor. Is this something you're going to be able to stop doing? Because it drives me up the wall. And, you know, things like that. You've just got to talk it out, and you've not got to let these little things build up to a point where it's like, rah, because it's just not worth it. And it's not worth an argument. So sit down together, talk about your future and what you want your marriage to look like. What do you want from him? What do you want to give to him? What does he expect from you? And how can you make that work together to make sure that you are always putting each other first? Because that is first and foremost what you are saying in your marriage vows, is that this other person is going to be your number one. And as much as self-care has got to come first, the next person on your list has got to be your spouse. It just has to be. At the end of the day, your kid's going to grow up and move away. And it's going to be the two of you, and you don't want to get to the point where the kids grow up, move away, and you don't know who you're sharing your house with anymore. So stick together, make plans together, and check in with each other often. Okay, I will see you guys next week. Bye for now.